Trump robs Elmo blind, CBS bends the knee, and Putin puts his sassy pants on. My name is Jovan Bradley, and this is the Weekly Dump. Welcome to the Weekly Dump, your number 2 source for news. It is Sunday, July 20th, and I'm here in the studio, as always, with producer Steve and technical director Chris. Now, we have a fully stacked show for you all, but before we get into it, I do need to hit you with a little bit of housekeeping. So as a reminder, this show is going to be different from my normal, everyday debate content. This is a different show. This is the Weekly Dump. It's a weekly live news show, very akin to what you might have found on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert before that motherfudger got axed, but that's a spoiler alert for a later news story. Now, as a reminder, the show is currently airing here on my channels on YouTube and Twitch, but once we get enough people to go subscribe to Red Mirror Media's YouTube page, okay, the show is gonna live there permanently. That's gonna be its home. That's gonna be where it lives, where it breathes, where it reproduces. So if you want to help us get there, please go subscribe. Go to Red Mirror Media, right? Go over there and subscribe. I actually have been leaning forward, so I'm going to sit up, and hopefully that doesn't mess with the levels that technical director Chris has set for us here on the show. Now, hopefully, if any mods are watching, they can drop a link in the chat for Red Mirror Media's YouTube page. So I need you guys to go over there and follow that. We've got some videos up there already. You're going to get more videos this week from the Socialism conference. You're going to get videos from interviews with people. That's where the podcast Critical Mass lives. Shout out to Simon, who was our first guest. Go follow us, Red Mirror Media, YouTube, do it. Also, sub to us on Patreon, guys. The Red Mirror Media Patreon is open for you. We're going to be putting extra content over on the Patreon. For instance, depending on how late the show goes tonight, there will be a post show over on the Patreon for Patreon members only. That's right, there will be a post show. Now you know that we're cooking. Where producer Steve and I will be ranting and raving about Superman. So come and join us for that over on the Red Mirror Patreon. Now I need, if we got a mod or anybody in chat, to go drop a link to the Red Mirror Media Patreon, if you could possibly do that for me. Thank you, please, love you for that. Thank you so much. Now, also a reminder, when it comes to watching the show, we are going to be shouting out everybody who sends a $5 or more super chat over on the YouTube at the end of the show. That super chat will be read aloud. Okay, we have Jess on it, just making sure that we get your super chats. So if you want to say something, if you want me to, Reader, thank you so much for linking that in the chat. If we could please pin that. So if you want your messages to be read out at the end of the show, go get those super chats in, okay? Get them in. Now, we are going to start the show off with a rapid fire news segment. Now, we're not going to be going in depth on a lot of these topics, but we are going to touch on a few interesting stories that have happened throughout the week and giving you just a little bit of information, like just a quick little toozy, if you will, you know, a little toozy, a little tinkling of a toozy. Now, first up tonight, Congress just voted to defund public broadcasting by $1.1 billion because apparently Big Bird is a radical leftist who wants to turn your kids into little baby Marxists. Now, what this means is that broadcast networks like NPR, PBS, and their local stations and affiliates are about to lose their government funding, which for networks like PBS means losing about 15% of its operating dollars. Republicans approved the cuts to CPB, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which has been supplying federal support to public broadcasting radio and TV stations since the 60s. They passed these cuts in the middle of the night because they knew if they did it in broad daylight, they'd have to face the squad. Now, I don't know about you, but I would never want to face down this group in a dark alley. They're that way, not that way. Here's what this actually means. Starting this fall, local public radio and TV stations could shut down completely. An estimated 1,500 radio stations could be impacted by these cuts, and rural communities will get hit the hardest. In some small towns, public broadcasting is sometimes the only local news and emergency information people have. We're talking weather alerts, earthquake warnings, life-saving information. But hey, who needs flood warnings, right? Who needs flood warnings, right? Now, ultimately, Republicans are claiming that this will cut wasteful spending and eliminate liberal bias in media. Because nothing screams unbiased journalism like fucking Cyberchase. And if you're saying, Jovan, I don't know what Cyberchase is, you're fucking lying. It has been on the air since 2002 and is currently in its 15th season. There is no way you haven't seen this animated show about a couple of kids solving math problems with the help of this absolutely Chad-looking bird aptly named Digit. But here's the real kick in the ass. A Harris poll done on behalf of NPR shows that 2/3 of Americans, including 58% of Republicans, actually support funding public radio. Now I know, Republicans, you voted for Donald Trump for low gas grocery prices, cheap gas, and unfiltered racism. But instead, I hope you're ready for Mr. Donald's Neighborhood. Red, White, and Caillou. Reading Reagan's. And Clifford the Big Red Scare. I actually had so many of these, but we're on a time crunch, and I can't spend all day making GOP-related PBS puns. Next up, CBS just canceled The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. See, I told you, we would bring it back around. The #1 rated late-night talk show on television. This comes just days after Colbert dared criticize Trump's authoritarian grip on corporate America.
And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, my mustache comes to you with a heavy heart because while I was on vacation, my parent corporation, Paramount, paid Donald Trump a $16 million settlement over his 60 Minutes lawsuit. This settlement is for a nuisance lawsuit Trump filed claiming that 60 Minutes deceptively edited their interview with then-candidate Kamala Harris last fall. Paramount knows they could have easily fought it because, in their own words, the lawsuit was completely without merit. Now, I believe that this kind of complicated financial settlement with a sitting government official has a technical name in legal circles. It's big fat bribe. Because this all comes as Paramount's owners are trying to get the Trump administration to approve the sale of our network to a new owner, Skydance.
Now, CBS claims it's about finances, even though Colbert dominates the ratings. But here's what really happened. Colbert, as we just saw, called out his network for paying Trump $16 million in what he called the big fat bribe.
Before we start the show, I want to let you know something that I found out just last night. Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May.
Now, this isn't a coincidence, okay? It's calculated intimidation. CBS needs Trump's approval for a merger of Paramount and Skydance, so they sacrificed their biggest star to appease their fascist master. Trump celebrated this attack on free speech by gloating on Truth Social, writing, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings." When fascists come for comedians and journalists, democracy dies. And CBS just helped them dig the grave. At least the Trump administration is content with the media and isn't giving ICE access to your medical records or anything. Holy shit, the Trump administration just gave ICE access to your medical records. I guess HIPAA is now just a suggestion, not swimming 30 minutes after you eat, or height requirements on a roller coaster, or even daily showers. Well, ICE now has access to a massive database, including 1.8 billion insurance claims and 58 million medical bills. That includes your name, address, phone number, and any other information you've given anytime you filed an insurance claim. So basically, if you've ever been to a doctor, ICE knows where you live. But wait, there's more. They also signed an agreement giving ICE access to the medical data of all 79 million Medicaid patients' personal data, like home addresses, birth dates, ethnicities, and social security numbers. It's like Black Mirror, but with less paperwork, more British accents, and a hell of a lot less pig fucking. Now, ICE can search the medical database from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays, because even Big Brother needs work-life balance, apparently. They can't download the data, but they can use it to hunt down people they want to deport. The Trump administration claims this prevents fraud and keeps benefits for real Americans, because nothing says protecting healthcare like making people afraid to use it. 20 states are now suing, saying this violates federal law. California's Attorney General Rob Bonta even said, quote, "It is devastating to think that individuals may not seek essential medical care because they are afraid that if they do so, they may be targeted by this administration." Congratulations, America. Common side effects may include nausea, drowsiness, and deportation. Welcome to a country where your medical privacy went to the same place as Harambe. Gone too soon, but never forgotten, bro. We gotta pour one out for my boy. Finally, the Trump administration this week also terminated the National LGBTQ Youth Suicide Prevention Hotline, a program that has served over 1.3 million LGBTQ youth people since its inception. The administration claims they're ending these services to focus on serving all help seekers. Translation, we're helping everyone equally by helping no one specifically. It's very all lives matter energy. Oh, and they deliberately removed the T for transgender from their official announcements, instead labeling it as LGB+, because nothing says we care about mental health like erasing an entire group of people from an official press release. The White House defended the cuts by saying they won't fund services that encourage radical gender ideology. Now, the 2023 U.S. National Survey on Mental Health of LGBTQ+ youth found that 41% of LGBTQ+ youth seriously considered suicide in the past year, and the Trevor Project estimates at least one LGBTQ young person attempts suicide every 45 seconds. They know what they're doing by cutting specialized support. Now, switching gears slightly, remember when Trump promised to end the Ukraine war in 24 hours?
If I'm president, I will have that war settled in one day, 24 hours.
Shortly after I win the presidency, we will have that horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. It'll be settled. I know them both very well. Get it done very quickly, maybe in 24 hours. But this conflict has to end, and when I'm president, it will be done very quickly, I believe in 24 hours. Now, shortly after I win the presidency, because of you, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. I'll get it done in 24 hours. I know them both very well.
Well, we're now 6 months into his presidency, and Russia has basically told Trump to kick rocks. Trump threatened to impose 100% tariffs on countries that do business with Russia if Putin doesn't play nice within 50 days.
And one of the reasons that you're here today is to hear that we are very unhappy, I am, with Russia. But we'll discuss that maybe a different day. But we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means.
Now remember, because Trump seems to forget this, but tariffs are a tax placed upon a business that ultimately trickles down to the consumer. So to punish Russia, Trump is going to take more money out of your wallets. Russia's response was essentially, LOL, nah. Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Rybakov said, any attempts to make demands, especially ultimatums, are unacceptable to us, and warned the war will continue until Russia gets what it wants. Trump's frustration with Putin is clearly showing, as is evident by his reaction here.
Because Putin really surprised a lot of people He talks nice and then he bombs everybody in the evening. So there's a little bit of a problem there, and I don't like it.
It's like he just discovered that dictators sometimes lie. Very shocking stuff. Trump then announced he would be sending billions of dollars in weapons to Ukraine through NATO allies. Russia responded by launching 267 drones at Ukraine overnight. Because nothing says we're open to negotiation quite like a massive bombing campaign. So Trump's big ultimatum lasted exactly 1 day before Putin basically said, "Make me." And there we go. Those are our quick bits of news for the day. Don't worry, we still have our main stories to cover here on the Weekly Dump. But before we do, I'm going to again tell you guys, if you have anything you want to say to us, feel free to drop it in a super chat in YouTube. Any super chat over $5 will get read at the end of the show. And right now, we're going to take a short little break, and I trust I've been seeing you guys. We're going to try to get the audio a little squared away, but we're going to take a very short break. So enjoy this little taste of our time at Socialism 2025 in Chicago, where we asked attendees what radicalized them. And while you're doing that, consider dropping that super chat to tell us what radicalized you. We'll be back in a couple minutes. So we're here day 2 at the Socialism Conference here in Chicago, Socialism 2025. It's been a really great event so far. You can feel this sort of collaboration and camaraderie around basically every room. People are here to learn. People are here to get educated. Getting educated and learned are the same thing. Either way, we're going to go around today. The big question that's on my mind that I want to ask people is like, what specifically radicalized you? So we're going to go around and get some feedback from attendees, feedback from people here at the event, and see what radicalized them.
Hey, my name is DJ. I use they and she pronouns. The question was, what radicalized me? And honestly, Black people. Black people radicalized me. Black people have taught me what it is to be in struggle with each other in ways that really matter. That struggle has meant like struggling to be with each other. It's meant learning how to care for each other. It's also meant like understanding the importance of creating infrastructure for ourselves, because we know that the literal infrastructure that we've built historically has been destroyed by white supremacy, and the metaphorical, extra physical, you know what I mean? Like the spiritual infrastructure that we've tried to create has also been attacked by white supremacy over and over again. So being around Black people specifically, but then even more on the nose, Black, queer, and trans folks have taught me what it means to be a radical and have led me into the space of radical politics and left politics in general.
I was in the Navy. I served when Obama was bombing Syria. I was a cryptologist. I was a system administrator. So I got a lot of messages. I read a lot of messages about how many Syrians we killed, how many civilians, and I knew that something had to change.
I grew up as a conservative Christian in Western Oklahoma and went through a series of realizations and of like trying to reconcile the values that I was being taught with what we were actually promoting and doing. And, often they were at odds. And so it was a long process of listening to people online and offline talk about their experiences with different systems that generalized into a system of capital and colonialism and racism. And
been a punk for a long time, moved down to Indianapolis, and the scene there was just really accepting, and picked up a lot of their ideas. And then I was invited to Food Not Bombs. I knew the person that put it on in their house and just started consistently going, and it was a great way to really get involved in more radical politics, learn how to be consistent, learn how to be in a meeting. these different things. And so that's what radicalized me.
I think growing up in a small town and going to church, in part, radicalized me. I took what was being said seriously, and then I realized the hypocrisy of the difference between what I was being preached and then what I was being told to do. Also, growing up as a skateboarder in a small town, being looked at as somebody who was a criminal, you know, making creative use of abandoned property, somehow that was a crime. Taught me lessons about what I thought was important, and then what me and my friends thought was important. We weren't harming anybody, we were just trying to express ourselves, make use of something that nobody else was making use of. I think that radicalized me. My grandparents radicalized me from Mississippi and Alabama, telling me stories about the civil rights movement, letting me borrow all their books. Howard Zinn, Noam Chomsky, Zora Neale Hurston, Langston Hughes, that radicalized me.
I would say that I've been radicalized since I was born. I have always been black, I've always been indigenous, and particularly my family has never hidden the oppression and the struggles that we have experienced. We call it low income now, but we used to say poor. I was a poor black person from the ghetto, and I have done my best to connect with my ancestors and connect with our resources and our educational abilities. And so I was just talking to somebody here at the conference. I grew up in Third Ward, Houston, and I went to an elementary school that was predominantly black run and black attended. And we had the beautiful opportunity to learn about our history and learn about colonization and colonialism in a way that most folks don't get to. And so literally growing up, I didn't celebrate Columbus Day. I didn't celebrate a lot of colonial histories like 4th of July and events. And that made me a little bit different from my family. And I had to learn to be okay with that. And so literally being exposed to a knowledge and a history and a culture. I learned about being a griot when I was in kindergarten, and that's something that a lot of Africans and people of African descent in this colonial state don't get to learn about, to know our indigenous cultures. And so in learning to read and write, something that my people were forbidden from doing and resulted in death a lot of times, I was able to connect with both my indigenous spirit and indigenous culture, as well as our decolonial practices that we as black people are promised and we are soon to achieve.
I guess our kind of radicalization stories are kind of in tandem. I was also a Bernie bro from like 2016 until about 2020. Was dating someone at the time who was kind of like libertarian into like, you know, the Tim Pool-esque vibes. So I had little to no political clarity and just kind of was like, yes, I love Bernie, and I guess whatever anyone thinks is fine. So I guess my big radicalization thing, honestly, was probably COVID, seeing and the Black Lives Matter uprising. I live in Seattle, and I lived in Seattle at the time of the BLM uprising. So just seeing, you know, the Chaz Chop Autonomous Zone pop up, and seeing the way, you know, the news framed it, and then seeing the reality to where I kind of started thinking, something else is happening here, something deeper is happening here. So as I kind of started to think a little bit more about politics and what being on the left meant, I kind of just started dabbling into a bunch of different sort of things. I stumbled across a YouTube channel that kind of introduced me to the concept of socialism, and I also kind of had the same reaction of like, oh, I thought communism was super evil, and like, what about the Red Scare and like the Cold War? Isn't that what that whole thing was? Weren't they trying to like keep us safe from the communists? And then, you know, you dive into it, you read a little more literature and find out that's not entirely true.
I realized pretty quickly, I graduated high school in 2015, and I realized pretty quickly by about 2016 that I hated money. And I realized that money was the root of all evil, and funny enough, I considered myself at the time a conservative. I realize now that it was really just me being politically unaware, but my friends and family were conservative, therefore I was conservative. I wanted to fit in, right? And I realized that being anti-money was not the full picture. I was actually anti-capitalist. And so I was a weird kind of amalgamation, Frankenstein's monster of a conservative anti-capitalist, until I realized I wasn't actually a conservative. Now, I didn't make the jump to liberal or anything. I actually went straight into being a Marxist somehow, just a full 360, because I realized that, you know, capitalism is terrible, but it's the only thing we've got, right? And then I realized, wait, that's not true. there are other economic systems that have that exist in the public theoretical ethos, and the one that they tell us is super evil was the one that made the most sense.
What radicalized me are several things that happened with police brutality in the odds. And that, honestly, it's kind of hard to pinpoint because there's been my personal experiences being followed, stopped, frisked, handcuffed, never arrested, just harassed. And then seeing it more visibly on the national stage. And then just kind of like the pressure that continued to build into the various resistance movements. And then along with that, having a argument discussion with a person who had no clue what they were talking about. So I'm like, you know what? I know I need to be more educated about this. And once I started to get into it, I'm like 100%, this is where I want to go.
I'm Nat, she, they pronouns. I'm with Black Youth Project 100 and Lucy Parsons Labs. Lucy Parsons Labs based here in Chicago, Black Youth Project, national org. What radicalized me, I don't know, it's just life. It's the same shit that doesn't radicalize other folks, right? It's all about how you experience that and how you contextualize that. I think, like I was born into an apartment where my folks were getting kicked out because they was an interracial couple. I was, as all black people have, highly racialized traumas based on where we live, based on who we are. And I just always was grounded in my dad always taught me was like, black people are my people. We are who are gonna save us. And for me, what radicalization means, not just for me, but the actual definition is like getting to the root of the cause. And if we gonna get into the root of the cause of my traumas, of why these white kids racist, of why these white people doing it, of why these rich people have it, you gotta go to the core of white supremacy capitalism. And so just looking for answers as to my experience, that's what radicalized me.
From 2014 going into 2015, there was a string of very high-profile police murders. And I was super disgruntled with the response to the police murder. So it wasn't even as depressing and nerve-wracking as the police murders were. That wasn't even the thing that radicalized me. It was the lack of militant response to black children being murdered all over the state and us having no organized way to deal with it. And since that day, I decided to figure out a way to address state violence. And since then, I have been sort of engaged in a whole bunch of sort of journeys around organizing. So yeah, the inability to address our immediate concerns and put our people's safety as a priority, a prime concern, is the thing that radicalized me.
Around, my teenage 20-something years, I started to, kind of push against, what I had been taught, traditional, the sort of dogmatic education I'd received from, American public schools, from, my, mentors, adults in my life, peers, working as a wage laborer for the first time, live the horrible exploitative conditions that everyone is subjected to, some certainly more than others, but, all exploited nonetheless.
Yeah, what radicalized me, it's sort of a two-parter. When I was in middle school, right before high school, my dad had a massive stroke, and it just threw my family's finances into disarray. And so I was sort of radicalized conservatively because we were having trouble getting the kind of social safety net that I saw other people getting and then felt like they didn't deserve. So it was a little conservative. And in my faith community, I started going to Bible study, and it backlashed on them because when I really got into a close read of the Gospels, I realized that I realized that Jesus was a radical, and Jesus was, a leader of a poor people's movement, and it just really radicalized me in the opposite way that I think the intention of it was. And so I was doing this deep study, and I don't know, don't consider myself necessarily a practicing Christian anymore, but it was realizing that the gospel is radical.
I'm Caroline. I'm with the Purdue YDSA. What really radicalized me was specifically around 2022, just all the midterms, just sitting at home and watching things get worse and worse and worse. Just feeling like if I didn't do something, it was just going to keep deteriorating for my mental health. So I just had to get out there. I had to do something, even if it was small, even if it was just like knocking some doors, making some phone calls to try and get more engaged. And that's really helped me build myself up politically and get more engaged, kind of get into radical politics. Sort of introduced me to YDSA.
I think what radicalized me was when I was younger, I had heard Brave New Voices. It was a kind of like Def Jam poetry kind of thing. And there was two poems, one about a woman who was being like, who had endured sexual assault, and she was kind of like talking about it and kind of talking about how she survived. Then there was another one about New Orleans and another one about Sean Bell. And it was such a really powerful poem that I'm a poet and I'm an artist, and so it really touched me, and it kind of had me questioning what was I missing, because I really didn't hear about some of these things. And I was like, what am I missing? I also grew up like in a military family, so some of those things were purposely hidden from me. But then other ones, I just wasn't. I was only like 10, 12 years old. So, but yeah, that's kind of what radicalized me, was poetry and art.
My name is Whitney, and I was radicalized by the carceral shit I experienced in my K-12 education.
Okay. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed the break. Thank you for watching that video. If you want to go check out the video, it's on my main channel here, Jovan Bradley. You can go and watch the whole thing again if you want to watch the whole thing again. Now, we're going to move on to our first main story of the day, which is Florida's latest contribution to human civilization, a goddamn concentration camp in a swamp that they're literally calling Alligator Alcatraz. And before you think I'm being hyperbolic with that concentration camp comment, no, I'm being accurate. They built a facility to detain people based on their immigration status in the middle of gator-infested wetlands. And they're proud of it. Florida finally found a way to combine their two favorite things, human rights violations and dangerous wildlife. Answer the question, what would happen if we let Florida man design a prison system? This thing sits 45 miles west of Miami in the Florida Everglades. Someone really looked at one of the most inhospitable places in North America and thought, you know what this needs? More human suffering. The facility is surrounded by alligators, pythons, and mosquitoes the size of a small aircraft. I don't even think Skeletor would design a prison system this cartoonishly evil. Florida Attorney General James Utmeyer literally said if people get out, there's not much waiting for them other than alligators and pythons. He said this like it was a selling point. Come for the human rights violation, stay because you'll literally be eaten by reptiles. Florida's new tourism slogan, probably. Now, here's the really stunning part. They built the entire facility in 8 days. 8 days. I've had Amazon packages take longer to arrive than it took Florida to construct a human rights disaster. Most people take longer to build a deck, but Florida managed to speed run building Gitmo 2. Somewhere, Bob the Builder is watching this like, damn, and I thought I was efficient. Can we build it? Well, apparently yes, but should we? It's a different question entirely. This was only possible because Ron DeSantis used emergency powers to bypass all those pesky things like environmental reviews, public input, and basic human decency. The emergency, well, apparently Florida wasn't quite dystopian enough. They looked around at their current level of cruelty and said, we can do worse. They literally seized county property without telling county officials. Miami-Dade Mayor Daniela Levine Cava found out about this the same way the rest of us did, by reading about it online. The current setup is exactly what you'd expect from a facility built in 8 days by people who think cruelty is a feature and not a bug. They're packing 32 people into each cage, and yes, lawmakers who toured the place literally called them cages, with 3 toilets per unit. It's like an Airbnb ad written by sociopaths. Cozy swamp tent, seats 32, shared bathrooms, wildlife included, 5-star reviews from authoritarian governments worldwide. The temperature inside hits 85 degrees, which is apparently what happens when you build tents in a subtropical wetland and forget that humans need, livable conditions. But hey, at least there's plenty of insects. Lots and lots of insects. It's like nature's own added layer of torment. When Democratic lawmakers finally got to tour the place after literally suing for access, they found people shouting for help and screaming freedom. One detainee even reportedly yelled, "I'm an American citizen," at the top of their lungs. Oh, and they accidentally detained a 15-year-old because checking IDs is too complicated when you're moving at breakneck speeds to fill your swamp prison. Is there anything that screams professional operation more than accidentally throwing kids into adult detention facilities? Why don't we take a look?
Yet more controversy surrounding the Florida Immigration Detention Center known as Alligator Alcatraz. New reporting from the Miami Herald and Tampa Bay Times reveals the sequence of events that led to a 15-year-old boy with no criminal record being held there for 3 days after a traffic stop.
Now, not content with just violating human rights, Florida decided to also destroy one of the most ecologically sensitive areas in North America. It's like they looked at the Everglades and said, this place has too much biodiversity and natural beauty. What it really needs is some good old-fashioned human misery to balance things out. The facility sits in the Everglades, which is home to endangered species like the Florida panther and West Indian manatee. Environmental groups are suing to stop this madness, but Florida's response has basically been, anything to own the libs, you know the rules. DeSantis even said arguably the dumbest thing about the detention center in response to environmental questions.
We talk about Alligator Alcatraz, and it's been said it's temporary. So the question is, when we're talking about environment, about the possibility that it would harm Big Cypress National Preserve.
That's not true.
And you said it's not true, but you said it's temporary as well. So when's it going to be packed up and sent out of there so that it doesn't harm the area?
Well, it's not going to. This is an existing airport. It's existing concrete. They're not doing anything outside of that footprint, and they have a lot of great plans for how they handle everything that happens, and so that's just not an issue. But
it's not going to affect it, which is the kind of statement you can only make if you think environmental science is a liberal conspiracy. But zero environmental impact, DeSantis? I'm sure the thousands of people, the construction equipment, the sewage, and the industrial generators are all just going to blend seamlessly into the natural ecosystem. Worse than that still, this land is sacred to many different indigenous tribes. There are traditional Miccosukee and Seminole villages, ceremonial grounds, and burial sites in the area. Because nothing says make America great again like building a concentration camp on native burial grounds. We're really going back to our roots. Now, Trump showed up for the grand opening like he was cutting the ribbon on a new shopping mall. He toured the place with DeSantis and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. The photo op from this tour, they're going to age really well. This is incredible, Ron. Incredible. The best detention facility maybe ever. People are saying it's tremendous. The alligators love me. They told me so. Trump even saying it was almost as good as the real Alcatraz. It's almost as good as the real Alcatraz is definitely the kind of endorsement you want for your government facility. I mean, what's next? This detention center is nearly as effective as the Sarlacc pit? Now let's talk about the money, because the party of fiscal responsibility is about to spend $450 million per year on their swamp detention facility. That's $1,233 per inmate per day, which is more than most Americans spend on food in a week. The funding scheme is a masterclass in bureaucratic shell games. Florida is paying upfront and hoping to get reimbursed by FEMA through something called the Shelter and Services Program. But here's the twist. According to official court documents, Florida hasn't actually applied for any federal funding yet. So right now, Florida taxpayers are footing the entire bill for DeSantis' political stunt. And what do you expect? This is the first prison in history where the security system is literally, hope the wildlife is feeling aggressive today. This brilliant plan works great until you remember that Florida is currently in hurricane season. The facility flooded during Trump's tour by a summer storm. A summer storm. Not even a hurricane. Just regular Florida weather was enough to flood their tent city. State officials claim the facility can withstand a Category 2 hurricane, which is reassuring until you remember that Category 5 hurricanes are a thing and this facility is made of tents. Their evacuation plan for 3,000 people in the middle of a swamp during a major hurricane is presumably thoughts and prayers. Now, Category 2 hurricane resistance for a tent city in Florida is like claiming your umbrella is bulletproof because it can handle a light drizzle. The isolation also makes everything else harder. Medical care, legal representation, family visits, but that's intentional. Why make detention humane when you can make it as difficult and miserable as possible? Immigration attorneys are having trouble accessing their clients because, surprise, when you build a facility in the middle of nowhere and restrict access, it becomes really hard for people to exercise their legal rights. But again, that's the point. Multiple lawsuits are being targeted at the detention center. Environmental groups are suing, indigenous tribes are suing, Democratic lawmakers are suing, even alligators are suing for defamation at this point. It would be easier to list who isn't suing Florida over this disaster. Human rights organizations are calling this exactly what it is, while Republican officials are probably confused about why anyone would object to their perfectly reasonable swamp prison. Because one swamp detention facility apparently isn't enough, Florida is already planning a second location at Camp Blanding. They're literally building a network of remote detention centers like they're opening a chain of deportation Dunkin' Donuts. Now that's what I call iced coffee. The Republican Party of Florida is so proud of this facility, they're selling merchandise. Alligator Alcatraz t-shirts and beer koozies because nothing says family values like commercializing human detention. Trump wants to expand this model to other states, because why should Florida have all the fun? And here's what's really terrifying about all of this: the speed. 8 days from concept to opening. No environmental review, no public input, no bureaucratic process that usually slow down terrible ideas long enough for someone to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't build a concentration camp in a swamp. They bypassed everything. Every safeguard we have, specifically because those safeguards would have stopped this project. This isn't just about immigration policy. It's about what happens when officials decide that emergency powers mean they can do whatever they want without checks and or balances. Today it's immigrants in the Everglades. Tomorrow it's whoever else they decide deserves the swamp treatment. So there you have it, gang. Florida's latest gift to humanity, a $450 million per year facility designed to maximize suffering, minimize oversight, and normalize the idea that treating people like animals is not just acceptable, but profitable. But hey, at least we know where Florida's priorities are. It's not in education, or infrastructure, or healthcare, but on building the most expensive, least humane detention facility possible in the most environmentally sensitive location they could find. The fact that they're calling it Alligator Alcatraz and selling merchandise tells you everything you need to know about how seriously they take human rights. This isn't policy, it's performance art. Really expensive, really cruel performance art that we're all paying for. And the scariest part is this is just the beginning. Because when building concentration camps in swamps becomes normal, we have officially lost the plot. And finally, our last story of the day, we're going to talk about one of Trump's biggest campaign promises: releasing the Jeffrey Epstein files. You know that thing he swore he'd do to expose the deep state and drain the swamp? Yeah, well, about that, Trump didn't just mention this once or twice. He made it a recurring theme throughout his 2024 campaign. Here he is on Fox News.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
In September, he went on Lex Friedman's podcast and doubled down.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be.
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it.
I need you guys to know that I messed up on the teleprompter and I'm trying to find my place. So you're gonna have to just sit with me while I search. Can we just play that video again, Steve? Just play the same video a second time. Play it again.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be.
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it.
Okay, I'm almost there, chat. I'm almost there. Bear with me. Oh, I can just do this? I've lost it. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. Hold on, chat. This is a live show, so there's going to be technical difficulties. It would be... Okay. That's the hurricanes, so we're almost there. This is live television for everybody wondering. We're almost there, chat. I'm literally right here. Okay, I found it. Okay, let's reset. Play that same video one more time.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be.
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it.
Hey guys, you know how I said we found it? I then lost it again. So Steve, our lovely producer, is getting it pulled up. And then we're going to do it again because what would live TV be without? We're almost there. We're actually almost there. We're so close. It's so close, chat. I swear to God. I swear before God and everything. Okay. We're here. Okay. Lex Friedman's podcast. One more time.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be.
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it.
Now this wasn't some throwaway line. Trump spent the entire campaign promising to expose government corruption and take on the establishment. The Epstein files became his supporters' holy grail. The smoking gun that would finally prove everything they believed about elite criminal networks. Once Trump got into office, his team didn't just keep the promise, they cranked the hype machine up to 11. It was like watching the world's most irresponsible marketing campaign for something that apparently doesn't exist. Attorney General Pam Bondi became the de facto star of this particular reality show. In February, she went on Fox News and made the kind of statement that gets conspiracy theorists more excited than a new season of Ancient Aliens.
You know, I saw your appearance at CPAC with Ben and with Ted Cruz, and one of the things that you alluded to, and this is something Donald Trump has talked about, the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump.
So the conservative internet basically exploded. People were refreshing their browsers, waiting for this list like it was Taylor Swift dropping a surprise album. Trump's legal team was also getting in on the action. Alina Habba went on Piers Morgan's show and basically promised that heads would roll.
Okay, that's clear. Talking of another puzzle, the Jeffrey Epstein files, we're told, are to be imminently unleashed. And already we saw the Attorney General Pam Bondi say that the scale of what happened is far worse than anyone realized. Well over 200, maybe 250 victims, and that we're going to get information either later today or tomorrow from these files. What can you tell me about that?
I believe it will be today. I was just I saw Pam and Cash in the White House just before coming on your show. And I can tell you that I haven't been privy to it yet, but I know it is coming out.
Now, nothing says we've got the goods like promising criminal prosecutions on international television. It's like announcing you're going to win the lottery before you've bought a ticket. And then there was FBI Director Kash Patel, who has spent years on podcasts promoting every Epstein conspiracy theory ever. Here's a clip from Glenn Beck's show back in 2023.
Who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book.
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
The administration even threw a little party for conservative influencers, handing out official-looking binders labeled the Epstein Files Phase 1. It was like a gender reveal party, except instead of pink or blue smoke, it was just disappointment and broken promises. Then came July 7th, 2025, the day the music died for Epstein conspiracy theorists everywhere. The Justice Department released a memo that was basically the government equivalent of, actually, never mind. The memo concluded that their review revealed no incriminating client list and no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals. In other words, everything Trump's team had been teasing for months was about as real as Trump's concept of the healthcare plan. The memo also said Epstein definitely died by suicide, which must have been devastating news for people who had spent years building their entire political identity around the idea that he was murdered by the deep state. Now, the reaction from Trump's base was immediate and volcanic. These people had been promised that the political equivalent of Christmas morning, and instead, they got a participation trophy. At the Turning Point USA conference in Tampa, basically Comic-Con for Nazi youth, the Epstein controversy was all anyone wanted to talk about. When Laura Ingraham asked the crowd about their satisfaction with the investigation results.
How many of you are satisfied? You can clap. Satisfied with the results of the Epstein investigation? Clap. Okay, I told you to clap. You guys aren't listening. I'm not going to grade you on a curve.
Even big-name MAGA figures started breaking ranks. Conservative commentator Matt Walsh said on a recent podcast that the Trump administration is gaslighting us.
Instead of getting any transparency here, the Trump administration is continuing to tell us that these materials are boring and that we shouldn't care about them. Now, and by the way, just this morning, he lashed out again on Truth Social, attacking anyone who's still asking about Epstein as weaklings and saying that he doesn't want their support anymore. And, I know some people are annoyed at me for harping on this and criticizing the president, who in many other ways is doing a fantastic job. But I happen to believe that bringing sex predators to justice is extremely important. And I just can't accept being blatantly gaslit by people in power, even if they're people that I otherwise support. In fact, especially if they're people I otherwise support.
Mike Johnson, who's usually about as rebellious as a golden retriever, even called for greater transparency. When Mike Johnson is publicly disagreeing with you, you know you've really stepped in it. The most telling sign, Trump's Truth Social post defending the administration became the first post in the platform's history to get more replies than likes on his own social media platform. That's like getting booed at your own birthday party. And the manosphere was also shook to its core. Those podcasters and comedians who helped Trump win over young male voters started turning on him. These guys had been crucial to Trump's 2024 victory, and now they were acting like he'd personally stolen their lunch money. Joe Rogan, whose endorsement had been treated like a political golden ticket, went from supportive ally to mocking the administration.
Where's the Epstein files? Boo, can't find them. Don't exist. Like, they can get away with shit, man.
Oh, yeah.
Andrew Schultz was even more direct, basically calling the Trump administration a bunch of liars.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Flagrant. Free Ghislaine. She has been wrongly imprisoned. She was convicted guilty of something that clearly never happened.
Never happened.
After the FBI's incredible research, shout out to cockeyed Kash Patel. That mother was looking at the documents double time, and he was 100% certain that there was no RICO charge.
No foul play. No, he's a pedophile.
But just him.
But only him. Thousands of girls, just him. Yeah, the guy was busy. And that list that they said that they had was a list of one name.
Yeah, guys, what the hell is going on? Can we just address something? Like, people make mistakes when they speak a lot, right? Like when Pam Bondi was like, the videos are so vile of all this sex porn, right? Like the district attorney, is that what, what does she do? What is her position?
What is her, do we know? I don't know. The official one? Feelings, no facts.
Pam Bondi.
She works for Trump. That's all we need to know.
Little chatterbox.
Yeah, just Trump's bitch.
When she came out and said that there were the list was there, the client list was there, the files were there, that the videos, the tons of the videos were there, she now is saying she misspoke. She just said that the thing was on her desk.
The files, the case files.
Yeah, that happens.
Yes.
Like, don't you misspeak about like thousands of hours of footage of adults having sex with children? Isn't that something you would misspeak about? You would be a little flippant in the way that you described that, right?
Exactly.
You would oopsie daisy that.
Yeah. It happens all the time.
No, I'm just gonna say that this is an abortion of justice. There'll be people that they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like, I voted for none of this. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for.
Schultz went as far as to suggest that Democratic socialists were more America first than Trump. And Jovan, who had also hosted Trump and Vance during the campaign, posted what became the viral moment of the entire controversy.
Release the list. Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing.
These guys had spent months telling their audiences that Trump was the anti-establishment candidate who would expose the truth. Now, they look like their friends who just convinced you to invest in cryptocurrency right before it crashed. The backlash even reached the furthest corners of Trump's coalition. Nick Fuentes, the Nazi, and former Trump Mar-a-Lago dinner guest used the Epstein controversy to tell his followers something truly shocking.
And now he says, if you're not on board with the Epstein cover-up, oh, I don't want your support, you're a weakling. Fuck you. Fuck you. You suck. You are fat. You are a joke. You are stupid. You are not funny. You are not as smart as you think you are. You are, and honestly, and if you watch my show, you know I've been very critical. I've never been this far. This just goes to show this entire thing has been a scam. When we look back on the history of populism in America, we are going to look back on the MAGA movement as the biggest scam in American history. And the liberals were right. The MAGA supporters were had. They were. When we look back in history, we will see Trump as a scam artist who served as a vehicle for this rather than the other way around. We were not the vehicle for Trump. Trump was the vehicle for all of us.
Way back. So, okay, listen, this is still a live show, and I may have done the thing again. So we are going to just scroll until I can get back. Now, okay, I'll give you guys a little insight to live show making. I have this little controller here that controls the teleprompter. And if I press this button, it goes all the way back to the top. And I've accidentally pressed this button like 4 times. I meant to press this button, but you can see how I might have flummoxed that. Okay, give me a second. We're gonna play the Nick Fuentes video again. Not to force you guys to look at that guy's face, but we're just gonna play it one more time and then we'll get right back into it. So hit that Nick Fuentes video one more time.
And now he says, if you're not on board with the Epstein cover-up, oh, I don't want your support, you're a weakling. Fuck you. Fuck you. You suck. You are fat. You are a joke. You are stupid. You are not funny. You are not as smart as you think you are. You are, and honestly, and if you watch my show, you know I've been very critical. I've never been this far. This just goes to show this entire thing has been a scam. When we look back on the history of populism in America, we are going to look back on the MAGA movement as the biggest scam in American history. And the liberals were right. The MAGA supporters were had. They were. When we look back in history, we will see Trump as a scam artist who served as a vehicle for this rather than the other way around. We were not the vehicle for Trump. Trump was the vehicle for all of us.
But the most pathetic response came from the professional MAGA class, those whose entire careers depend on staying in Trump's good graces. Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, provided a masterclass in how to abandon your principles in real time. Kirk had spent months promoting the Epstein file release. Here he is, a few months ago, talking about how great it's going to be.
We are excited for that. And I guess we might see flight logs and some names, and that's going to break the internet. And we are looking forward to that. And it is a government that is committed to transparency.
Chris. But then Trump called him personally, and suddenly Kirk discovered the magical power of trusting the process.
Plenty was said this last weekend at our event about Epstein. Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. I've said plenty this last weekend.
When did conservatives start to place their whole trust in the government? Well, I guess last weekend. But Kirk wasn't done embarrassing himself. By Wednesday, he was capitulating to Trump about how his most loyal supporters only cared about Epstein because they care about the presidency.
What I'm going to say to the president, if I see him soon or if we talk on the phone, or I'll say this the same thing on the show, there's no private agenda here, is that, Mr. President, the emphasis on Epstein is truly the best intentions of your most loyal followers. Where we're not trying to score points with the CNNs or the New York Times. It's truly because we care about you. It's because we want what's best for the presidency.
As the criticism mounted from his own supporters, Trump did what he always does when faced with accountability. He threw a tantrum and blamed everyone else. In a Truth Social meltdown, Trump called his own supporters weaklings and said he didn't want their support anymore. Trump also tried to rewrite history, telling reporters that people shouldn't waste time on a guy who was obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3 to 4 years ago. This from the man who spent years promoting conspiracy theories about that same guy. It was like watching someone burn down their own house and then complaining about the fire department's response time. Just when you thought the circus couldn't get any weirder, the Wall Street Journal dropped a story about a letter Trump allegedly wrote to Epstein featuring a drawing of a naked woman. Because apparently, this timeline wasn't cursed enough already. Trump immediately sued the newspaper, claiming the letter was fake and saying, "I don't draw pictures of women," which is definitely the kind of oddly specific denial that makes everyone believe you immediately. The ultimate test came when Democrats in Congress decided to call Republicans' bluff. Rep. Ro Khanna introduced an amendment that would force the Justice Department to release all Epstein files within 30 days. The House Rules Committee voted 6-5 to block the amendment, with only one Republican, Ralph Norman of South Carolina, supporting transparency. Norman was apparently the only Republican who remembered that consistency is supposed to be a virtue. Then, Democrats forced a full House vote, which failed 211 to 210, with all 211 opposing votes coming from Republicans. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene, who had been screaming about the Epstein files for years, voted against releasing them. As Khanna pointed out, the question with Epstein is, whose side are you on? Are you on the side of the rich and powerful, or are you on the side of the people? In the end, the Epstein file controversy became a perfect metaphor for Trump's entire approach to politics. Make big promises, generate maximum drama, and then blame everyone else when reality doesn't match the hype. Trump supporters spent years believing they were part of a movement that would finally expose the truth about government corruption. Instead, they got a big old goose egg. And here's the real story. Not that there were no Epstein files. There are obviously files. And we know Trump and Epstein were BFFs for years. The real story is what happens when a political movement built on conspiracy theories and promises of revelation runs into the reality that their leader doesn't want to expose anything that might implicate him or his friends. Okay, now, before we end our show, we are going to go to another quick break. So you guys are going to take a look at the first episode of Jovan the Streets. From the first episode was when we were in Chicago asking people about the big, beautiful bill. So if you haven't seen that video, here you go, enjoy, while we here at the studio take a quick break. On July 3rd, 2025, Congress passed the Big Beautiful Bill, a budgeting bill that, among other things, lowers taxes for the rich, defunds Planned Parenthood, and strips millions of Americans of their medical benefits. On July 4th, 2025, Donald Trump signed this bill into law, drafting out the U.S. federal budget plan until 2028. I took to the streets of Chicago to ask a few everyday Americans what they think of the Big Beautiful Bill. This is Jovan the Streets. So what do you think about the Big Beautiful Bill passing?
I know.
You see me.
I know.
You know what it is. I'm not elaborating. You can't, I don't like it.
Beautiful. That's plenty.
Actually, I don't think there is anything to like about it.
Come over here. We're asking people's opinions. The big, beautiful bill was just signed on the 3rd. The 4th. Signed on the 4th. Pat, the big, beautiful bill. Do you know what that is?
No, I don't know what that is. What is that?
Okay, so that was the most recent spending bill that our government passed.
No, I have no clue. Is it? I mean, what is it?
So it's going to increase a bunch of people's taxes and decrease a bunch of people's taxes.
You know what? Fuck Trump, all right? Fuck Trump. Fuck you and fuck Trump. Hey.
I don't knock them. Do you want to talk? You can want to talk to us too? We're just asking people's opinions on the budget bill that just passed.
Big beautiful one.
We're taking all.
The big beautiful one. Yeah, no, okay.
Yeah, no, we're totally not supporting the big beautiful bill.
We love to hear it. If you could say anything to the current administration passing all these nonsensical things, we don't censor.
Oh, we don't censor? Am I allowed to use profound language?
Yep. Beautiful.
I agree with her. Yeah, I agree with her. I grew up, when she was born, I was a single mom, and them cutting all of the assistance programs. I had big brothers, big sisters. I had the Boys and Girls Club. All these things that helped me as a single mom. They're trying to cut all of the funding for these programs. No, that is not cool. I don't know how our kids are going to make it.
That part. And they want us to have kids and everything without providing money and the resources for us to provide for these kids that they want us to have so bad because we don't already have enough places that don't have people hiring and stuff like that going on right now. It's kind of crazy.
We're going to run out of Social Security. And I'm still paying into it and I'm not going to get to draw it. No, and the thing is the people that have voted for this aren't thinking about their kids. They can't be thinking about their kids and how the future is going to look. I just don't believe that.
Oh, I just think it's ridiculous. Young people just need to get a life and figure it out. Figure out later on they're not going to be able to go on and buy houses and things because they don't care.
How do you think it's going to hurt them more with this? Because the budget bill that just passed is going to make it a lot harder for middle and lower income people to buy houses.
I don't believe that.
No?
I really don't. No.
Well, 60% of the tax cuts in that bill are only going to the top 20% of earners.
Yeah, I just don't see how anything's not going to work. People need to be more positive. The glass is always not half empty. And last time Trump was in, we bought a house and it was 2.99% to buy a second house. So
What year was that?
It was 2010? No, 2020.
What are you talking about?
2020 I think it was.
2020?
Yeah. So we've managed to buy 2 houses and part of it was Trump being in at 2.99%. So, you just need to be positive and think, hey, it could be better than you think.
Okay.
And my kid's going to be a lineman and, they're going to have no tax on overtime.
Well, if they meet the qualifications for the deduction.
For the what?
The qualifications for the deduction, there's strict qualifications you have to meet.
Yeah, he was saying that you have to only
I try
earn...
not to read tax law. There's a cap
Yeah.
in rules. There's always rules.
Yeah.
And then the rules are always vague, and you have to hire a professional to explain the rules to you.
Yeah, but I think you need to trust the process.
Okay.
I don't think Trump's that bad. And I'm from New Zealand, and that's a democratic country.
You don't think any of the stuff like the defunding of Planned Parenthood is going to affect anybody, or?
I'm sorry. I think defunding of Planned Parenthood should happen. I think
And
people should be more responsible.
Okay. 60% of their services are non-abortion related services. So what do all those people that go to Planned Parenthood for low-income people who go for STI testing?
We have Medicaid.
But we're stripping back Medicaid.
Yeah. Then I don't know. I'm like,
And they used Medicaid to go to Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood's no longer allowed to see any Medicaid patients.
I just don't know if Planned Parenthood should do certain things that they've been doing. That's what I think.
We could argue details, but if you want the government to pay for something, there needs to be a large consensus in society that it's a good idea, right?
Yeah, sure.
Have them help you do something that's 50-50 that people hate. I mean, sorry if that's harsh, but like if everybody agrees on disaster aid, let's do that. But if it's contentious, getting government money involved just makes people mad at each other, I think.
Well, but the problem is with the Hyde Amendment, Planned Parenthood's not able to use any government spending on abortion procedures. They haven't been able to for years. So about 30% of their budget comes through federal grants and the government, and they already couldn't use that on abortions, but now a bunch of people are going to lose access to contraception, STI testing, these things. How does that make you feel?
That's just how wound up people have gotten. You just say Planned Parenthood and the two sides stand up and start yelling at each other. Like I think getting federal money out of it and letting people just do what they want would calm it down. 'Cause it's just like the Dr. Phil episode where they had the stay-at-home moms and the working moms. Like they were nice people who probably would like each other, but you could have started a riot in like 30 seconds, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll de-escalate things. It'd be better.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I'm not an expert, and it's not like anybody in Washington would listen to me, bro.
Well, thank you both for talking with us.
There, yeah. But have a good day.
Yeah, you guys too. Thank you.
Well, I think it's a big, beautiful mess, in my opinion, because I feel like a lot of what's been going on, I mean, I'm not the most educated when it comes to, big finances, things of that nature, but I feel like we've been going down just a big spiral when it comes to cutting, costs for corporations and raising prices on, like, the everyday person. So, for example, there's just been, like, so many tax cuts, right? Yet prices still remain high. I mean, if you remember back in 2021, like, it's going to be kind of a ridiculous example. McChicken was still $1. Now it's like $3.29. And I know it's like a pretty bad example, but at the same time, fast food has become not affordable. Groceries have become more expensive. Yet all we hear about in the news is, record profits, stock market's doing great. So I don't necessarily think the Big Beautiful Bill is going to do anything except just keep that going.
Okay, so what I know about it is that, or what I've heard about it, I don't know, I haven't done my research on it, is that it is a bill taking away basically support to underprivileged people and like poor people, am I correct?
Essentially, it's along with tax cuts for the wealthy, it's also restructuring a lot of different subsidies that we have, like welfare programs, SNAP, Medicaid, Medicare, those things.
All right. So how do I feel about it?
Yep.
I mean, that's not cool, man. Like, you're just you're just professionally being a jerk. Like, dude, really, you're gonna take away like money from underprivileged people? Like, really? So you as a rich billionaire got into office to go and take away money from poor people so you could get money for yourself? Like, come on, that's just being stupid. Like, you're just being a jerk.
That's NASCAR right there.
No, that's fireworks.
Is there more fireworks?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, but like, really, and then you're gonna take away money from poor people and then be the same person to go complain about how, this is going on in our poor communities, this is going on. It's like, Trump hates on Chicago consistently, right? You know the divide from north, south, and west, east, right? I bet you Trump doesn't hate the north side, but I bet you he does hate the south and west side. And you know who he's gonna take money from? He's gonna take money from the southwest and east side of the city. So all I'm saying is, if you wanna keep on hating on us, you wanna keep on hating on our sides of the city, then stop trying to take money from our sides of the city.
Hey guys, I know this video ended weirdly, but that's because I didn't.
Okay. So I want to thank you guys for watching the Weekly Dump today. Thank you for enjoying the stream. How did you like it? Was it fun for you? It was fun for me. We will be back next week. There is no post show. Unfortunately, we started a little late today, so no post show today. We will be back next week where we will have a post show, I promise. And that will be for Patreon supporters only. So if you're on the Red Mirror Media Patreon, you'll be over there. We are debating whether we're going to keep debate/discussions happening on the Weekly Dump. I don't know yet. We'll keep talking about it. That's an internal thing. This is just your little nugget of behind the scenes. I want to thank producer Steve, technical director Chris, as well as camera op Jonathan. Thank you guys for helping out with the show. Thank you guys for watching. It has been fun. It has been a pleasure. My name is Jovan Bradley, and I still don't have an outro. Bye-bye.